Okay, AP Computer Science A. I wanted to do a quick little follow-up with our last program that we were working on together. So, um, open up BlueJ, and then I want to open a project instead of new project. I just want to add a little something to P1YProject, the last one we were doing. That was the guessing game. And I talked about this issue before. I said, well, what if they give us a guess that's outside the lower and upper bounds? Could we catch that? Could we make them guess again? And this is also something you could even consider. Could you make a guessing game where they get 3 tries or something like that? You know what I mean? So what I'm talking about right now though is that when they give us the guess, could we make sure that the guess is a good guess, just number wise? I don't want to try and catch letters or things like that. That's a lot more complicated. But we could say let's make sure that their guess is in the right limit. So right after we get the guess and we change it to an integer, let's check to make sure user's guess is within the bounds. Okay. And if it is not, make the user guess again. Okay. So we're going to use something called a while loop because they might make several bad guesses. And so we're going to keep asking for a new guess until they give us an appropriate guess. So we're going to use something called a while loop. So instead of if, it's a while. Now it takes a Boolean argument. So take something like we use down here for if the guess equals random number, something like that, something that's going to be true or false. So in here, what we're going to say is if the guess is less than the lower bound, then that's bad, right? But it could also be higher than the upper bound. So, or guess is greater than the upper bound. Okay, now here's the deal. I can't use the word or in Java. So I'm going to show you right now what I'm going to do. Do open in curly braces, end while. Now, instead of or in Java, what you have to do is do these 2 vertical lines. They're on the backslash key, shift backslash key. They're right underneath the backspace key on the right side of your keyboard. So 2 vertical lines. That means or in Java, okay? So I don't know if we want to put a comment. This means or in Java, okay? So while they give us a guess that's too small or too big, or, okay, not and would be a different thing. We're going to make them guess again. So essentially we're going to take this code right here. So we're going to redo this code and let's just copy and paste it. So we got to put it in here again, and the tabbing might be off a little bit, so we can fix that. Like this should be tabbed in and this should be tabbed in. Maybe we should give them a message first telling them that they made a bad guess so that they kind of know what's going on. System dot out dot println your guess is out of bounds. Try again. So this will help them understand why they're being asked again. Otherwise, they might just get really confused. Like, hey, I already guessed. And then this way, hopefully, they'll understand their mistake. It's also why it's good to include directions when you ask for the input, to make sure they understand it. inclusive, exclusive, that stuff. So I think this should work. So this is going to ask them to do it again if they get it wrong. So we could test this out right now. Now, the way a while loop works, okay, kind of what you're going to say, do something inside the while loop while something else is true. So as long as the thing inside here is true, then you're going to keep doing the while loop. As soon as it's false, the while loop's done. And then we continue and check their answer. So let's try this out. So hopefully you've added this to your code. Pause the video if you need to catch up. You should be doing this along with me. I'm going to compile it. Make sure everything's good. Right click, void main. Okay, now we're going to purposely guess a number outside of, so I mean, we could do 12. It says your guess is out of bounds, try again, and you got to do it again. We could do even -3. That should work. That's integer, okay. If you do a decimal, it's just going to crash. If you do a letter, it's going to crash. Now, it's not regenerating a new random number each time either. So we could guess 5 and it's wrong. You could create a separate while loop that encompasses all this to let them keep guessing until they get it right, or give them 3 tries or something like that. So if you're looking for a little extra challenge, you could go ahead and do that on your own. So that's it for that. Now we're going to do a new project, a little tweak on the guessing game. So we're going to close this. We're going to create a new one from scratch, new project. And we're going to name it, we're going to put in the unit 1 folder, I'm going to name it P1Y project. Okay, P1Y project with capital P's and everything like I'm doing here. That creates the folder for it. You haven't created anything yet though. Nothing's in the folder. So then we're going to name it. I'm going to call it GuessingGame2. So GuessingGame2. And this is going to give us some opportunities to explore some other ideas a little more. So we're going to double click on it. You're going to delete everything that's in there. And we're going to do public class guessing game 2. Close the curly brace, comment it, and class guessing game 2. We have to do public static void main string args, and I just like to do the tabbing ahead of time sometimes. I don't know. Okay. So this is going to be, these curly braces should line up and down from each other. That's the way I want you to do it. Makes it easier to do. End method main. Okay, now this guessing game, we're going to try and get someone to guess the day of the week. Okay, now first of all, let's create the thing that they're trying to guess. Day of the week. Let's use long variable names that are really descriptive, lowercase for the first letter, camel notation, equals new string. Now, this is how you create a new string. Now, we haven't put the string in there. It's just kind of a blank string right now. I'm going to go ahead and use a different way of getting input from the user this time. Instead of JOptionPain, I'll just show you a different one. We're going to usually probably use JOptionPain though. But scanner input equals new scanner. And so a scanner, it's a type of object to get information from the user, kind of like JOptionPain. System.in. I'm not going to go into detail how these work. I'm probably not going to use this a ton, but there's another way you could get input from the user. String guess. So we're going to have, I think, similar issue here where we're going to get something from the user. It's not going to be the right type of thing. And also we have a similar issue as we did with JavaScript Paint. We have to import. So this goes above the top of your file, above the public class header, java.util.scanner, capital S, okay, semicolon. So we have to import it, okay, and we create a scanner object, okay, a new scanner object. We're calling it input, and then we're going to store their guess eventually in variable name guess. So day of the week is going to hold our day of the week that we're hoping to guess. And for now, we're not going to do it random. Okay, we'll talk about ways that we could do it random. For now, I'm just going to put Tuesday in it. Now you got to put in quotations. It's got to be a string. If you don't put quotations around it, it doesn't work. And we're going to need to be specific, maybe that they need to capitalize the first letter or just assume they're going to do that right. So now this one actually interacts with that output window that we usually use. This doesn't pop up, open a new window like JOption pane. So it's kind of interesting. So we're going to do system.out.println. So we're going to print a message in that box, and we're going to say, guess a day of the week. And so I'm going to put an extra space here because then they're going to actually type it in next to this in that output window. So we kind of want to format it so it looks nice. So now we're going to say guess equals input, which is this scanner thing, dot next line. So this reads the next line on the window and stores it here. Okay. And then we need to check. So I guess, we could just test this out real quick. It's always good to kind of like test things out as you go because you don't want to get through all the code and have 10 different problems and it's really hard to identify it. So we could do system.out.println and print out their guess just to see if it worked, just to see if it stored it correctly and whatever. So let's try that first. So let's compile that. Pause the video if you need to get caught up. Okay. Then I'm going to go over here, right click, void main. Okay. Guess the week. And you'll notice the cursor is actually in the window. So I'm going to guess Wednesday and hit enter. And then it prints it back out. So that works. We haven't done anything to check their answer, but we're just trying to make sure that so far works, that we're able to get something from them, that's getting stored in the right spot. Now, we're going to check it. So we're going to say if, we could probably get rid of this, and if there's something you put in your code that you don't want to use anymore, you could just comment it out, and then Java won't read that line. So we could say if guess equals day of the week, right? That's what we did last time to check it. And then we do curly braces, close the curly braces, and if we could do the whole else thing, else, kind of get that ready to go. End else. So if they get it right, well, we'll do something. System.out.println. You guessed correctly. Doing kind of the same thing I did last time. I think it's good to retype this stuff. Don't just copy and paste all this code from the last one. And if they didn't, then we'll print something like last time, like wrong. We could make it extra mean. And then we could tell them what the correct day was. The correct answer was day of week. All right, so I don't know, that looks good so far, right? So let's see if we can compile it. Compile. Now it compiles it. Okay, so everything looks good so far. All right, so get caught up. Pause the video if you need to. Compile it. Now, I'm going to try and run this a couple times. Now, when you test your programs, you don't want to just. Now, I know right now that the day of the week is Tuesday, right? So that helps. It's not random. So we could start with Tuesday, and capitals matter. I mean, you can put that in your code if you want, but right now we know it matters. If you put a lowercase t for Tuesday and the actual one is capital T Tuesday, it's not going to. Wrong. What? I did Tuesday and it said the correct answer is Tuesday. Oh, what? Okay. Now, if we do the wrong day, let's see. Let's try the wrong. Something's not working here, though. I'm not even going to do this. Let's go back to the code. Why isn't this working? We guessed the correct one. Here's what's not working. This right here. This equal equals. You know how we use equal equals? I said to test for, if a statement's true or false. That works for primitives, for doubles and ints and things like that. And these are strings. And it doesn't work. Well, it didn't give you an error, so it works, but it's not working the way you want it to. So let's actually comment this out. Or I don't know, we could, let's see. So I'm going to retype this. If guess equals day of week doesn't work. Okay. The reason it doesn't work is that equals is for comparing primitives, ints, doubles, boolean. Okay. So we can't use equals. So for objects, which strings are, and many other things in the future will be, we have to do dot equals. Okay, dot equals. Then you got to put parentheses. So the second one has to be in its own set of parentheses. You got to do dot equals. And what this does is it compares these. Now, equals didn't give us an error. For us, equals, it worked, but not the way we want to. Here, I'll tell you what it's doing. Here, equals is comparing memory addresses of guess and day of week. So it's comparing the variables, their actual, it's referencing where they're stored in the memory, and it's comparing the memory addresses. Of course, they're not going to be stored in the same place, so it's never going to be true. And it's just not what we want to do. We want to compare if the objects are like each other, So we have to use dot equals. So this is what we have to use for objects, including strings, okay? For primitives, which we're often going to do, use the double equals, okay? So anyways, let's try it out again. Let's compile, and everything's good. No syntax errors, void main. So we know it's supposed to be Tuesday. Let's see if Tuesday worked. Hey, it worked. Okay. Let's try it again. If you're gonna fully test your code, you want to not just test the right way. Try Wednesday. Wednesday. Still a weird word. And okay, I got it right. So it appears to work. And that's it for guessing game 2. We will have a guessing game 3, or we'll bring something else into things. But for now, you should have enough. You should have enough to do P1A, P1B, P1. C, and D. E is where you're going to run into. So you should be able to do P1A, P1B, P1C, and P1D. You should be working on those. Those should be getting done. P1E, I'm gonna do a separate P1 E and F and G. We're gonna have to do some other stuff together, but you don't need to wait for that. So start working on these assignments.